Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another good one for you today. Today, we actually connect with Lucas Todd. Lucas is a 17-year-old hunter out of Wyoming. He might be young, but man, he's been hunting basically since he put down the bottle. And that's baby bottle, that is. So that being said, he's got some amazing stories, and he's also one of our listeners. Listened to every episode, reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love to come on and tell some podcasts. So I want to say, Lucas, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Sharing your stories and being brave. It's a tough thing to do, especially for a 17-year-old. But yeah, guys, take a hint from the kid. Reach out to me if you have any stories you want to tell. I even have a link. You can click it at the bottom of the show notes, and it's just a quick survey. Fill it out, and I'll reach out to you. But that's it, guys. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off and let Luke tell you some of his stories. Thank you. All right, Lucas. Welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast, brother. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for scheduling with me today and coming on to tell some stories. I say this every time, but my favorite type of story comes basically from the listener, and you reached out to me saying, hey, man, I got some stories for you. So thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I like listening to it, too. I've listened to all your episodes, and they just make me laugh, and I love it.
Good.
Do it when I'm at work. Make it
awesome,
easier.
Man. Perfect. Well, let's do this, man. Why don't we let you introduce yourself so the folks know who they're going to hear some stories from today?
Well, I'm Lucas Todd. I'm 17. Basically been hunting since I was born. Like, my mom shot a deer, like, when my littlest brother was an infant. Like, he was, 6 months old. Me and my brother were, I think I was, 5. My brother was 7. Something like that. We were little. I don't think you were even that, actually. But she said when it went down, my papa said it was dead. We ran up that hill faster than anybody. And, yeah, I've been basically hunting since I was little. I mean, I haven't been doing the killing till, of course, 12, because that's what it is in Wyoming. But, yeah. I've been doing
got it, man. So you've been in Wyoming your whole life?
Oh, yeah. I was born here, lived here my whole life. I mean, I've traveled outside of Wyoming for wrestling stuff and all that. I do a lot of wrestling, but yeah. So that
cool,
kind
man.
of, yeah.
Well, nice to meet you, Lucas. I'm excited to hear some stories. I know you have a couple in mind for us. You even kind of people. Whenever a guest, and this is to the listeners, if you have a story you want to tell me, don't just type it all out. I don't want to read it. I everyone tries to tell me their stories in an Instagram message, which I read after the fact always, but I do love to just ignore those so that I can get them firsthand directly from you guys. So, Lucas, I know you have a couple stories in mind. Why don't you set the stage, man? Let's just kick this thing off.
Alrighty, so we're gonna probably just go back before I could actually hunt, but I could do the killing, but I always like to tag along. I tag along as much as I can. So, let's see. Let's go about, I don't know, let's go about a couple days before the actual cool part of the story. But so we were up hunting here, and my Uncle Butch, he's an older guy. I haven't seen him very much, but he's family. So he finally got a mule deer tag up in Wyoming where we go hunting. And so he came up, and we were trying to get him a deer. He didn't necessarily care. He hasn't killed a deer, and I think it was 75 years, like a mule deer. And it was a long time. And so we're
75 years.
Dude,
right. I think you might be over-guessing on that one, but okay.
Maybe less. I don't know. They're old guys. They like to tell. So I can't remember. And I was littler, so. But, he's old. I haven't seen it. I've talked to him in a while. But we brought him up to get a deer, and he didn't care what size. So through the week, it was 5 days that the rifle was open. So every day we were going, trying to find deer. He missed a couple of deer and everything, and couldn't get him down. Found one really nice one, and everybody got excited and missed him. But we, that final morning, I went up to him. We were in the camper sitting around, and I was like, dude, when are you going to hit a deer? And he goes, I don't know, maybe today's the day. And they're all laughing. So we get up, get ready to start driving up the road when it gets just light enough for us to see. And we drove for about, I want to say 5-10 minutes, and right down the center of the road is a nice little 3-point. And we look at it, we're like, wow, that's the first time we've seen a buck in this mountain. He jumps out, shoots it, goes right down. It was facing towards us, so it goes right down the center and annihilates everything. And the thing that it amazed me, it ran up a hill for another, I don't 5 minutes. That might be a little longer, but something like that. But yeah, he runs up the hill, and you're just like, wow, maybe you missed. And shoots it again, lays down and dies. We get up there, take care of it. It was awesome. But later that day, I was pushing my papa. I'm like, hey, we got to go back out there. If we saw a deer, we got to get another one because today's the last day. And he's like, all right, all right. We took my great-grandpa out with us, too, and we go up. And so basically...
How old do you think at the time?
Me or...
No, your great-grandpa.
Shoot, I don't even know how old he is now. I don't think.
Yeah, you said your uncle's old, so how old's great-grandpa? Jeez.
Well, my great-grandpa and uncle are about the same age,
okay.
I think. Maybe uncle's a little older. We just call him uncle because I don't know all the stuff to
gotcha.
be like direct.
So he's not an actual uncle. I was like,
no,
man,
your
great-grandpa was having kids young.
Family. We just call him Uncle Butch. I honestly, I don't know. We haven't talked to him too much, really, that I remember. But they're older. I think. Let me think. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. I think they're either closer to like 75, 80. I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but I think we're close to that. But we take him up. And this one spot that we like to go is it had a highish vantage point, and it's basically a half bowl, so like a U. So it's filled with like little cedars, and the tops are flat of it. And let me think the best way. So like it's a half U basically, and so the points of the U as you're driving up the road are facing away from you, and the road goes off on the right, and there's a little knob there, and you sit there and you can glass. So one tactic we learned we got this really nice deer tag a couple years earlier, but a tactic we learned is we'll walk along them and roll rocks down. And that'll spook the deer up, and we're like, oh, that's what we have. And so we're walking along, I look at my papa, I'm like, hey, should I roll a rock down? And he's like, go for it. And I find this big boulder, and I kick it over, and it goes busting down through. And
it's like the perfect old men become little boys when it becomes like time to throw a rock down a hill.
Dude,
it's like
you're just like, yes, let's throw this thing down there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple Instagram pages that are just like guys knocking trees over and rolling rocks down hills or throwing them off cliffs. It's just
I have taken out some trees, dude. With the rocks.
It feels awesome just to hear that story. So keep going. Sorry, you got me going there.
Or you see the ones where they throw the rocks into the ice and you just want to eat the ice or something like that after they do it.
All that stuff is amazing, man. All that. Okay, keep going. Sorry, we took a side note there.
You're good. But so we roll that rock down and nothing happens. We're sitting there. I'm like, well, dang it. Apparently there's nothing in here. And my papa, he pulls up his binos and he's like, Lucas, stop. I'm like, what? What? He's like, there's a monster buck right there. And me being a kid, I'm excited. I heard bucks, like plural.
Yeah.
So there was 3 bucks there, but I heard plural. So and he's like 3 big bucks. I'm like, oh my gosh, you shoot a big buck. I'm excited. And so he gets all set up and everything. I take these binos out. I don't even remember. I think they're old Leopold ones. But I pull them up and I'm looking at them. And I see the buck. And I'm like, oh, sweet. I can't see its head very well because it's behind a cedar. But when my papa saw it, he said it was big. So I'm like, sweet. Let's shoot this thing. And he gets set up and he's like, is that the buck? And I'm like, yeah, it's the buck. There's 3 big ones. Shoot one of them. And so shoots it and absolutely nails it. And we see it roll down behind this cedar, and it's just, we know it's stone dead. And we're sitting there like, all right, let's give it a second. And then all of a sudden the big buck just comes out running, and we're like, my papa's like, I thought I hit him. And I go, you stoned him, he's dead. And he's like, no, he's right there. And I'm like, what? And we look at it, and I'm looking at this thing, and gosh, thinking about it makes me sick now. But like,
no.
The best way to describe this deer, have you ever seen a mule deer or a deer and look at it and think, oh, that's a kind of a small elk. And then it stands up and it's a deer and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That is the size of the body of that deer. And the deer was just tall and he was heavy. And I counted like 6 on each side and stopped counting and realized that we screwed up. He was such a big deer. Like, I want to say he was well over 210, maybe 240 tops. He was an enormous
awesome, man.
deer. And he's the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. And
So, real quick, you asked me if I've ever seen a deer and be like, is that an elk? Like, my very first hunt in Colorado was a November rifle hunt. And I'm looking across these finger ridges, and I just and my brother-in-law's up on top of the ridge. And he's like, oh, there's one right across from me. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I have an elk tag. And I'm like, yeah, there's an elk. And so I get a little bit closer, I have no cover, and it's sort of just sitting there, and I'm like, something's weird about that elk, though. I couldn't figure it out. And I was a novice hunter, like 4 years of doing this thing. And I'm like, something's funny about it. I was like, the color's not right. The antlers look a little funny, but that is a big old body. And then I eventually realized, like looking through my binos, I was like, oh, holy shit, that's just a deer that is built like the Rock, man. He was just a thick boy. He didn't have huge antlers, but he was a thick boy. Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't shoot him because I could have. But I didn't have a tag for mule deer. I just had no idea what I was doing.
Oh yeah, so, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I've seen those old beat up mule deer that just look like
Roman
monsters.
Noses, and they just look mean, and they're so cool. I love mule deer. They're my favorite.
Yeah, so I've actually never been on a mule deer hunt formally, so I need to get that box checked.
To me, it's better than any other hunting. Like I've shot an antelope, like you can see in the background. I shot that guy with my bow, and I'll tell you about that later. But
sweet, can't wait to hear it. I go antelope hunting in 3 days.
Yeah, I heard that on that new episode. It's so cool. It's the best feeling to shoot something like, especially an antelope with your bow. It's so cool. Yeah, but I've killed deer. I've killed an elk. He's not the best elk. I think he's just shy of 300, and the area I shot him at. That's not bad. Well, the area I shot him at is a really, really great area, and I saw an enormous bull that I had my eyes set on, and we thought this bull was bigger. I'll tell you probably about that too. But back to this deer. So we see him going away, and I'm like, wow, how is he not dead? And he's just huge, and it's just he's an amazing deer. He's like what you see in the fables, is my thought. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. And so we look at each other, we're like, well, maybe he missed it. And so we're like, all right. And we walk down there, we get to where we thought we saw him die, and there it is okay, let me step back. There's I told you there's 3 bucks, right? Yeah. There's one 3-point that's like, I want to say about 25, 26 inches tall. Just big, long tines, big 3-point. He's little narrower, but he's a nice big 3-point. And then there's a little tiny 3-point. All right, not very special. He's probably, I would say, 2, maybe 3 years old tops. Probably not even that. He's a young deer. Okay, so we get down there at the cedar tree, and there's this 3 deer. The big buck, the nice big 3-point, and that little 3-point. And we look at him, and it's the little 3-point, sprawled out dead. We're like, you gotta be kidding me. I look at him, he looks at me, we're like, gosh damn, how did we screw that up? And so fastest gut we've ever had. We called my dad, and he knows that my papa, he does not shoot animals unless they're big, so he was all hyped. He comes over, I think we had a little utility side by side then, but he drives from camp up, and he's sitting there. He's like, how big is it? And we go, he was big. He's just over the ridge. He's like, well, would you shoot one? And we're like, yeah, we point at him, and it's just a dinky 3. And he's like, oh, no, what'd you do? And we're like, oh, my gosh, I don't know.
That's too funny, man.
Every time we go to that spot, we just... Go ahead. Okay. Every time we go to that spot, I want to sit there for hours and just watch for that deer. I know he's probably dead now. I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago, but wow, he's such a
man. That's too bad. That reminds, I don't remember who said it on my podcast, but somebody said they shot a deer, and when their friends and family came over, they're like, who shot the Labrador? It's just like this tiny little deer. And I always think of that when someone shows up in these stories, and they're like, where's your deer? That's it, like who shot the dog? So that's funny, man.
I mean, mule deer,
that's hunting, right? Yeah. You get caught up in the moment, and I bet that deer tastes delicious, regardless.
Oh, he was. He was great. He gave us a lot of the meat. It was good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also say, like, those are the kind of hunts that make some of the best stories that are told for years and years and years. Hey, remember that time he shot that dinker? It's
I
just
give him crap about it all the time.
Yeah, antlers are great and all, but you guys got a lot from that hunt, so that's awesome, man.
And a big thing that my dad always tells me is if, like, especially if you want a shoulder mount animal, he's like, you know what? Big is nice, but if you shoot something big and it's just like, oh, I saw it, boom, dead. That's not the coolest thing. Like, yeah, you got the shoulder mount. Yeah, I have this big trophy buck, but what's the story? And like, my dad, he has 2 really nice mule deer, but they're not like, I wouldn't say they're like world class big ones, but they're really nice, and he got them shoulder mounted because we were with him on that. And to me, that makes more sense to have a shoulder mount of something is when you you got a good story behind it.
100%. In fact, such a good point. I shoulder mounted my elk from last year, and it's a little bit over 300. I don't remember exactly. I can't remember if it's like 305 or like 313, but it's in that range. It doesn't matter. And I never really was going to get a shoulder mount. I don't have any shoulder mounts. I've always done Euro. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is epic. Like I went out with a world elk calling champ and 8 days of slugging it around here. And then we end up stalking in on a bull. And I put down this bull. It's my first archery kill. Like, yeah, I want it to be this giant animal in my house. And, which I almost regretted because he was really hard to get hung up, but I got him up. And now like people walk in. Yeah. People walk in and they're like, "Holy crap, what's that?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you."
This,
and so I get to tell my favorite stories. So having the story is as important as the antlers, or actually probably more important. But
it's probably more important. But the antlers are still cool.
Yeah, they are.
And you always get the better. Well, you don't always get the better, but you always get some really good stories with the bigger ones because you're like, "Oh, I had to take a lot more time to get this guy." And
maybe
a lot more mess up sometimes.
Maybe not. Yeah,
fair enough.
Sometimes I've heard plenty of stories about the big one getting away. So the big antlers don't always lead to a story, but
they always lead to upsets, though. That's true.
Yep,
maybe
that's true.
2 or 3.
All right, Lucas, what else we got, man? Let's keep the stories going. We're rambling about antlers. That's never a good time.
Tell you about that guy right there, that nice little antelope back there.
All right, let's do it.
To believe it or not, he's my first big game kill.
Awesome. And it was archery too, huh?
Yeah, archery. I did it with a freaking bow. It's awesome. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I have to think. We got this tag, and I was just excited because I'm like, well, shoot. So, yeah, because let me tell you this. My birthday is December 29th. So, it's the worst ever when you really want to hunt your whole life, and you turn 12 and hunting season's over. So,
that's a good point.
So, yeah, but we tried to get me a late season elk tag, and they were all on the refuge by the time I could hunt them. And it was a hit and a miss, but we tried. But so my first year I could actually hunt is when I turned 13. So we so we got that tag, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. I was already 13 because that year that I could actually hunt, we didn't get one. I missed. I didn't get one. Okay, so it was when I was 13. When I was 13, we got this antelope tag. I'm like, yes, I'm going to finally kill something. Antelope are a lot easier because we've only really hunted them with rifle. My dad shot one with a bow, and it stood there 45 yards off the road, let us stop. Like, it was looking at us. We saw it stop the truck. He gets out, takes his bow out of his case, puts on his release, knocks it, ranges it, and shoots it. And me and my papa with another truck were down the road, and I think my cousin was with me. We're down the road with a decoy, and he was too fascinated with the decoy to understand he got shot. Yeah.
No way. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
People say antelope are dumb animals, and they can be. Doesn't mean they are.
Yeah. Well, I've heard, they're good at what they do, which is see running and run. So.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So, all right. So. I get this, I'm like, yes, I'm going to finally kill an antelope. And my dad's like, hey, start shooting your bow. You got to shoot 1,000 arrows before you can go hunting if you want to shoot it with your bow. I'm like, well, hell yeah, I'd love to shoot an animal with my bow. So put in all the time. I'd shoot a whole bunch. I good up to 30 yards, and I was drawing, I think, 55 pounds, something like that. Okay. And I'm a little guy. Like, I think I was maybe 4'6", if that. At the time, like,
I'm 55 pounds is pretty good for a little man. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little guy. But so I get it all set up, we're good, and we start opening day spotting stock. And spotting stock antelope is probably one of the hardest things you could, in my mind, could do hunting. But I've only done antelope, deer, and elk, so I don't really know the broad spectrum. But to me, that is the hardest thing to do. And so
I agree. I think antelope, just because of the terrain they live and what they use to survive with their eyes and their speed. I've hunted axis deer recently. Yeah. Talk about a spooky deer. Like those things, if you shoot over 40 yards, they're just going to run away. Like you don't have time. So like there's tons of different critters, and they're hard to hunt for different reasons, right?
Yeah. Are they kind of like whitetail? Like I've heard that you kind of want to aim under a whitetail because they'll drop, or do they just take off?
They just take off. I mean, I'm sure they do drop because they got a load, right? But
Oh,
they're,
yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with axis deer. Their only natural predator, because they're from India,
Yeah.
is Bengal tigers. So
Oh.
like they just, I was sitting there watching some deer, and a mom got spooked by her own fawn. Like a doe got spooked by the fawn. I was like, everything and anything spooks them, and then
Oh,
they're
wow.
just gone.
Oh,
So
that's...
they're just a crazy, spooky critter. And I would be too if I thought there was a tiger around
Oh,
me all the time.
yeah, dude. If
Yeah.
I take out the trash at night sometimes, then I feel like something's off, I'll just run. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Right?
understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
All
so...
right, we got off track
Oh,
again. All
yeah,
right,
it's
Lucas,
fine. It
let's go
is
back
what
to
it is.
the antelope.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
so... But yeah, back to their eyes. I think they have like 7 power eyes, don't they? I think.
I don't know exactly, but
I
they're
can't
good.
remember. I
They're
thought
in
I
mine.
heard that somewhere. But yeah, so we get and spot and stock. I think we spent 2, 3, 4, maybe I would say 5 days within 2 weeks trying to get them with a bow. And I had a couple times where I was kind of close, and then my mom took a video. I don't think she took a video of me, but she's sitting in the truck watching me, and she's just laughing because the antelope would just steadily walk away while I was trying to get at him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was just funny because we didn't really know that if you stop when they're looking at you, they're gonna go. You have no chance. Because I've heard, especially on this podcast, like you're saying, that if you see an antelope, don't stop, keep driving, because you're screwed if you stop. And we didn't really know that. We've always hunted them with guns. So you're like, oh, they're right there, boom, and that's your hunt. So
Right.
so you're like, archery's big difference. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think within 40 on one occasion. He wasn't really the biggest buck, but we get in close-ish, but I can't shoot 40 yards. So he gets away, and so I was discouraged because the little 13-year-old boy hasn't killed a big game animal, is just dying to kill one, especially when
Yeah.
you love hunting
Starting
so
with the
much.
hardest hunt.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
And so I was just like, I was feeling discouraged, and we drive over this hill, and there's this big old water hole, and there's a herd of antelope on it, and they take off, and we're like, oh crap, I didn't realize there's water here. And so we sit down there for a minute. We sit there for like 10, 15 minutes. Nothing comes in. So we're like, all right, I want to say it's like 2, I don't know the time. It was later in the day. But
Okay.
we head home. I'm beat. I'm discouraged. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to shoot one with my bow, Dad. And he's like, I have an idea. And we went and bought a blind, and we went and set it up and let it sit there for a couple of days. And I'm still like, Dad, I don't know. He's like, get your butt. We're going in this blind. I'm like, okay, we're going in this blind. And so we get in the blind the first day, first morning, park the truck a little ways away, walk in, and sitting in there, and I don't know how long. I downloaded All Hail King Julian on Netflix, and I was just watching that on my phone with earbuds in while we were sitting in there. And that's what I was doing when we were waiting.
Yeah.
Was just
You're
listening,
13. I get it.
watching
Yeah.
Netflix. And so we're doing that, and this buck comes in, and my dad's like, that's a nice buck. Lucas, get ready. And they come walking in. He's like, okay, draw. I get ready to draw, and he's like, wait, stop. So I'm like, okay. And then they get down at the water. He's like, okay, right now. And then I go to draw, and they just bolt. And we're like, well, shoot. This is going to be a lot harder than it kind of looks on TV when they just draw back and shoot. And so
Yeah.
a little bit later, I want to say about midday-ish, another buck comes. Actually, we didn't even see him coming. We look up, and he's right there, just drinking on the water. And we go, "Oh, that's an antelope. Let's go." So I draw back. I settle in. I'm like, "Okay, this is all right." I shoot. Arrow flight is perfect and everything, but by the time I got there, he was facing at us.
Yeah.
And his head was in the line of the arrow, and I strike him right below the nose, like right on the side. And you just hear a whack. And I look at it, and I just feel sick instantly. I look at my dad, and he goes, "Did you hit him?" I'm like, not good at all. And he goes, and he looks over it, and it's kind of a little bit dazed, but he's not like hurt at all. He's just like, whoa, what the hell? And you see this arrow sticking out of his face, and we're like, crap. So we let him go over the hill. We go over there, and we see him still, and he's perfectly fine. The arrow's gone. So like I bet you if you found the animal, you wouldn't even see a nick on him. Like he was not hurt at the least. And so we follow him all day, keep trying. He just won't let us get near him. Like I think the closest we got was maybe 500 yards. He was just not having it. And so I don't think we saw him again after that day. I think he was gone. Like we
Yeah.
tried for him, and I told my dad again. I'm like, Dad, I wounded him. I'm done with bows. And he's like, you can try one more time. I know that sucks, buddy, but sometimes it happens. So I hate this. I hate that feeling. And
I
so
bet.
we
Right in
come
the
back,
face.
dude. I've never felt like so sick of myself than
Yeah.
hitting it. Oh, it sucked. But we come back the next day, same thing, park away, walk in, get in the blind. I'm sitting there, and I don't even think I got my phone out yet to watch anything. We're just sitting there kind of soaking in the morning feeling, that nice morning feeling. We were just soaking it in. And here comes in this tiny little guy. I want to say he was like 5 inches tall. And I was sitting there, and my dad's like, do you really want to shoot him? I'm like, I just want to shoot him with my bow. So I grab it, I pull back, and I'm like, well, crap. I'm going to shoot him walking because last time he was at the water, he turned into it, and I don't want to do that again. So I let him just a little bit too much and sailed it right in front of him, and he takes off. And I'm like, wow, I'm 2 for 2, and I'm doing terrible. But
Yeah. 0 for 2.
yeah, 0 for 2, yeah, 0 for 2, and I can't get it done, dude. What the heck? And so I'm like, well, let me go get the arrow. My dad's like, no, you can get it when we're done sitting. I'm like, okay. And so I think an hour goes by. I'm sitting there, and I remember this very distinctively. I'm sitting there drawing in the dirt, watching All Hail King Julian, messing around, being a 13-year-old boy, and my dad's like, big buck. And I look up, and I don't see it. He's like, Lucas, trust me, get your bow ready, get ready. He's right here. And I'm like, okay. I grab it, I draw back, and I just see horns, this buck, and he's just walking. I'm like, oh. My dad's like, don't worry about it. 30-yard pin, put him on him. I don't care. Shoot. I go, okay. I put it on him, and he's like, make sure he gets to the boof. He was going to say, make sure he gets to the water, but I shoot. And I have a tendency to
You
do
were
that with my
following
dad.
his first directions were like, just put the 30 pin on him and shoot. That was the
Yeah.
first instructions.
Yeah.
And you did pretty good there.
Oh, yeah. I tend to do that. And they're like, whenever you're ready, boof. Okay, I'm ready. But, so yeah, I see it, arrow hits, that line at the white patch on their back, right behind the shoulder?
Yeah.
That little L. So I hit him. The arrow's like it's at a little downhill slope. So I hit him right there, goes through, and I start freaking out like a little kid. And my papa took a video of it, and I have the video, and I just go, I smoked him, I smoked him, I smoked him. And I said that for about 10 minutes straight. I was sitting there.
You still have that video?
Oh, I still do. It's amazing. I'll send it to you.
Please, yes, please do.
Oh, yeah, you just hear me going, I smoked him, I smoked him, I smoked him. And my papa goes, oh, yeah, he did. And then it's a short little video, but it's funny. Yeah. And I don't think my dad really believed me until my papa said, oh, yeah, he did. Because he's like, okay, calm down. I'm like, I smoked him. I know he's dead. I know he's going to be dead. He's like, well, calm down. We got to give him some time. And I go, nope. I open the blind, and I go to where I shot him. And he's like, Lucas, come back. So I kind of get calmed down a little bit. And he's like, you know what? It's hot outside because it's in August. That's when our tree season is for antelope. So we were like, well, yeah, let's go find him so it doesn't get spoiled. We walked. There's no blood. We didn't see blood till we found him, basically.
Interesting. And what kind of broadhead were you using?
I think they were the G5 Montex, the 3-bladed ones, the 85 grains. Yeah, dude, it destroyed him, and it didn't go through him. And so basically, what happened was it came through, broke through the other side ribs, but it stopped on the hide. So like it kind of slingshotted back into him, which benefited me because when we gutted him, the insides were just destroyed. Like heart was cut in like 6 or 7 places, lungs. You couldn't distinguish what was what sometimes. Yeah, it was brutal what it did to him. But yeah, so we get up there, we're walking along, we find my arrow, so I pick up my arrow, I put it back in my quiver, and my dad's like, "Hey, Lucas, look up." I look up. He didn't make it 50 yards.
He's really? Awesome.
Stoned. It was awesome. I get up to him, and I'm so excited. Like, I also have a video of me walking up to him. I am like, sounded like I'm about to cry. Like I was about to cry. I was like, I can't believe I did this. There's no way I just shot an antelope with my bow. There's no way I shot anything with my bow. I thought this was just a hit or miss. I wasn't going to do it. But the fact that I shot this nice of an antelope with a bow was just, it was like, I was on cloud 9. I was so excited.
I bet, man. I bet. That's awesome.
Oh,
That's so cool. Awesome. I don't know really anything about scoring antelope, but like he looks like a decent antelope. How big? I mean, maybe you do, but what is like an average antelope, and how big is that bad boy?
I would say an average antelope. If you're doing all I know is Boone and Crockett, I think, is 75 inches.
Okay.
And I think a good size antelope is around that, like, 50, 60, maybe 70 range. I don't know. They're really hard to field judge. Like, really hard. So it's I don't know, like, the best to say inch-wise, but I scored him myself. I don't know if it's, like, fully legal. I scored him, like, 3 times, and, like, the average, I think they were all within, like, a quarter inch of Boone and Crockett. He was like 74 and a half, 74 and 3/4, and I think I got 74 and 3/4. So I'm like, this guy is like very close to a Boone and Crockett.
I'm looking right now. It might actually be a Boone and Crockett. I googled it. The minimum score for Boone and Crockett entries is 70.
Oh,
but
shoot! So maybe I should get this.
Yeah, maybe. It says over 80 to make a 4-year report. I don't know what that is.
I don't know
with
what
all-time records being 82 and bigger. So,
dude.
And I also don't even know where those 70 inches come from. So I guess it's like around the length.
I have to remember. So I think you go girth, and then you do the length from the base to the tip, like the wrap to where the hooks end, and then I think you do from the base where the flag starts to the tip of the flag, or something like that. And I think that's your inches. I'm not 100% sure. That was a couple years ago when I did it. But yeah, he's beautiful. I love him. His hooks are just killer. And then I got my arrow, and I made a plaque for him. 27 yards is where I shot him at. Oh, it was so cool.
Yeah. It's been antelope's been really high on my list to shoot with my bow for a couple years now. I did all sorts of research on them. Like, did you know their closest genetic relative is the giraffe? Like,
I did not, but I mean, I guess if you look at it, you could kind of see it.
Yeah, like and they have horns, and they don't have antlers. The difference between horns and antlers are antlers fall off annually, horns don't. The thing is, antelope horns are the only horns that do. So they're just the coolest critter. And they're not technically an antelope, they're a goat. Yeah, there's all sorts of interesting things. I have a story for you, Lucas. I don't know if I've told this one. If you've listened to a bunch of my episodes, maybe you have. But my very first antelope stalk ever, hunting down southeast Colorado, over the counter. I mean, spot and stock. We see a herd, and everything we've come up to at this point just runs away. So we're like, well, what do we do? And so my buddy and I are like, okay, next one we see, I'm going to jump out of the car basically while it's moving with my bow. And my buddy's going to try and drive ahead of them and then pull over and stop to try and drive them back to me. So we see a little herd of antelope, and I'm like, okay, cool. And they're a little bit ahead. So I get out and I see one bush. Like, that's it. I'm like, I'll go there, stand behind that and see what happens. So I'm on my way walking to this single bush, and I'm kind of fiddling with my arrow, getting it knocked, just sort of getting situated. And I just hear my truck, because my buddy's driving my truck, and it's just honk, 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 honk. And I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? And so I look up, and apparently what happened is my buddy went forward. The antelope beat him to where he wanted to go. So he just hit the gas, split the herd. So half went to the side that we can't go to, which is private. The other half went back that way. So then half of that half, one part of them went north, but he had one buck turned back the direction towards me. And so he flipped around real quick and then started driving, but it was trying to meet the herd back on the other side of the road. So he's flooring it down this dirt road and honking to try and basically cattle drive this antelope towards me instead of going back to the rest of the herd. So he's going he says 45, 50 miles an hour down this dirt road, honking his horn, and this antelope is hauling. I mean, we're talking full speed. So you said he was walking, so you put a little bit in front of him.
Yeah.
You've seen an antelope go full speed.
There's no reason to try.
Yeah,
at that
right?
point.
45, 50 miles an hour, however fast they can run, that's how fast my buddy was driving.
Yeah.
And so it just shoots by me. Like, it's by me. Like, as soon as I turn around,
it's gone.
I see my buddy in the truck and the antelope, and it's gone. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And the coolest thing is antelope don't go over fences. They just don't do it. They go under. Yeah, and so there was a fence, maybe 50 yards behind me. And I mean, I'm not kidding when I say this. He went through that fence like the liquid Terminator. I didn't see him duck. I didn't see him jump. He just all of a sudden was on the other side of it. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They're so cool. And then my buddy, at that point slams on the brakes, skids, huge pile of dirt, antelope gone. It's
Yeah.
on private land.
Yeah.
He comes back. He's like, "Where did you shoot?" And I'm like, "That antelope was going 100 miles an hour.
You ain't
Like,
hitting
what
that.
did you?" Yeah, I was like, "You were blasting your horn." Like that antelope had no idea I was there. But what did you expect me to do? Like, I think it was going faster than my arrows go.
Oh,
But
dude,
it was cool to see because he ran by me, the antelope, at like 10 yards, like really, really close, going that fast. So it was a cool experience, a learning experience. We hunted for a few more days and didn't even release an arrow. But man, it's a fun thing.
Oh yeah, and better just jump on it at that point and hope you can wrestle it down. There's no way.
Right?
There's no way you're getting an arrow to him.
Dude, you get out of the way of an antelope at full speed. No thanks.
Well, their natural predator was a cheetah, so
yeah, like the American lion or whatever. So
I don't know. It was like classified as a cheetah. I don't know. They went extinct, so there's really no natural predator other than coyotes.
Probably best for all of us that those things are extinct.
Yeah. Well,
what else you got, Lucas? You got any other stories?
Well, I got a couple, so let's go. You like, I know you like the funny buddy stories.
I do.
So we get
especially if it's your dad. I love it when people make fun of people that are close to them.
That's my cousin, and he's
that'll do.
He lives with us, so he's basically my brother. So, and he doesn't hunt much. He's just hunted when we take him, basically. So, it's a very, very good elk draw tag. It's a very nice special unit, and a lot of people like it. Like when you get it here where I live, and they just say screw you, like screw off. I don't like you anymore. It's that good of an elk tag.
Okay.
There's that, and there's one other place. And those, if you get either or, people are mad at you. But so we get that tag, and it's archery season, and we're out looking at this little like draw, and in this draw there's like a game trail that's probably like 3 feet wide, and it's just an enormous game trail, and it's just like you could ride a bicycle on it, and it'd be like riding on pavement. It was just like that compact, that wide. It's used a lot, and we've seen like 40 bulls in that place at one time when we were in archery. Okay. But they're just not big bulls. They were just nice little raghorns, maybe a decent 5 point sometime. But up there, we wanted to shoot a big bull, and so one night we were sitting up there, and I'm just sitting there messing with the calls, and we're just listening, and we see the usual 5 or 6 bulls. Like, you know what, if I might think about shooting that, and it's archery season, so we are. They're coming out, and they're feeding down from these bogs, and all of a sudden, there was these guys up on top there from Idaho. And they ruined the hunt for me earlier. I found this 3-horned elk, and it was cool as all get out. And
that's cool. Yeah.
We go to get ahead of them, and they watch us, and we don't know where the elk went, so we kind of back down. They drove down past us, and we're in there all day. And they were in there for a couple of days. But what I'm thinking is we were sitting down there, and they're in that. Basically, the bull works is that little like draw or bull. I don't even know what you call that. I think it's a draw, but so the way that draw works is at the very top, it's just thick timber for a while. And then it comes open like sagebrush on both sides, and then there's a aspen patch. There's like 2 different aspen patches, and then it goes down, and then there's a road at the bottom of it. So we were sitting down at the base of the first aspen patch, I think.
Okay.
The second and third, those 2 aspen patches are not that far from each other, but we're sitting down there, and it's probably like 300 yards from the top. It's not a very long draw, but we're sitting down there, and we're just looking to see what comes out, see if we even want to try for any of these bulls. And all of a sudden, I look over, and this dark horn, big gray bull just comes out, just trotting out. We're like, well, this guy spooked him out, and I'm telling you, he could touch his butt with his with his whale tail.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And I look at that, and I'm like, I have to shoot him. And I asked my papa, I'm like, hey, let me go down there, because the way he's coming down is he's feeding down through the center of the draw, and he's just following this band of bulls. And I think I needed to get maybe 100 yards to where I wanted to sit. He would come around. He's probably 40 yards, and at that time, I was good at 50 yards. Like I could hit it at 50 yards pretty good.
Okay.
And I was pretty confident. And so I'm like, hey, I can get there. I bet you I can get him. And he goes, nope, nope, you won't get there. You won't get there in time. There's not enough cover. And I go, really? He's like, yeah, we'll better just leave him be tonight. We'll watch him till dark and try to get him in the morning. So I'm like, oh, okay. I trust you. You're older than me. You know better. I got this. I got you.
Okay.
So we watch them till dark. We pull out. We come back the next morning. And I want to be up there like 2 hours before dark and sit up in the middle, the edge of those tree, the thick timber, and I wanted to sit there and wait for him. But we get up there, and we get up normal time as we were, of course. It was like 5, and we get up and we get outside. We get ready to get in the truck, and we look up and just see this big white flash going through the sky, and we're sitting there thinking, what the hell is that? That's like a supernova or something like that. What the hell?
Okay.
Is that a comet just flying through the air? And we were looking it up, and we couldn't tell. It was actually Starlink. When I
I've had that exact same thing.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, I've been in that exact situation.
Yeah, that kind of delayed us a bit, and we get up there and we see them, and they're about 100 yards from the edge of the tree. So we're like, crap. They are way too high for us to go after at the moment. So my papa says, hey, wait for him to get to the timber. Get in the timber. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, they're going to lose them. I'm not confident in calling enough to find them. And they were not bugling. And it was like September 15th. Not a bugle yet. So it was really warm. It was a really warm September. So they really weren't very ready until closer to October. I think the last week of September they kind of started bugling. But so I was not confident that we could get him in bugling, and so they get close to the timber, and me, my cousin, and his older brother were like, screw it, let's just go. Grab packs, grab the bows, and go down there. And we get down about 50 yards into the trees, and my cousin, he just disappears. And we're like, where the hell did he go? And we're like, well, crap, I guess we'll just keep going. We go in a little more, and I'm cow calling as I'm walking through because I saw in a YouTube video that when you're going through thick timber, you kind of want to cow call because you cannot physically be quiet. So if you every once in a while blow out a cow call, and then my older cousin, my other cousin's bigger brother, he says, "Stop right there." And I'm like, "What? Do you see Christian? Do you see the elk or something?" And he's like, "Right there." And I was excited, so I really didn't listen. The elk were 50 yards from me. I couldn't see him because, again, I'm short, and he's not, and he could see him, and I couldn't see him. So I was just, he's like, do you see Christian? He's like, they're right there. And I'm like, how far? And he's like, I can't see him. And I thought he said I couldn't see him anymore. So I'm like, okay, let's keep moving. I cow call again. I move a little more. I cow call one more time, and they bust out. And so I'm like, crap. And then my cousin comes by, and he's like, you just screwed me. I go, what? How? And he goes, they were 15 yards from me. And I'm like, well, did you not get a shot? Did you not shoot him or anything? What's going on? Did you shoot? Is that what happened? He's like, no, I didn't get a shot off. But I got a video, and I look at him, and me and his older brother look at him, and we're like, you got a video? And he's like, yeah, check it out. And he shows me a video of that elk. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, what? You said he was 15 yards, right? And he's like, yeah, he's 15 yards. I could have smoked him. And I'm like, why didn't you? Why didn't you shoot him? And he
Why'd you bring out your camera and not your bow?
And he's like, why? I'm like, why did you shoot me? He goes, oh, I didn't think you guys would believe me. And I look at him like, we would have believed you if he was dead. We would have believed you. I would have believed you regardless. They were right there. Yeah, I got a little antsy and moved when I probably shouldn't have, but.
How does he blame it on you? So you're calling, he thinks spooked him? Or
yeah,
I would guess more likely he got winded because being that close.
Yeah, at the time we knew nothing about wind. So he doesn't know anything about wind. I'm just barely learning all that stuff now because I can kind of go on my own now that I'm like 17. So I'm starting to learn some stuff better. But yeah, we didn't know anything. We didn't really care about wind. We were just going after him. And he's like, yeah, I didn't think you'd believe me. But yeah, so what he thinks happened is they were sitting there and they looked up and then I cow called and they took off. And he's like, it's your fault. And I'm like, all right, my bad. So we get out, we walk down. There's another story added onto this funny story. And so we get down a little bit more into that last aspen and my papa, I don't know why, but he yells. He's like, there's a herd in that patch of trees. They just went in there not too long ago. There's a nice bull in it. And he yells this because we're like 200 yards from him. And we go, okay, yell back at him, not thinking at all. The elk
Yeah.
over there at this point. So we go walking. We go like, shoot, okay, Christian, you go a little wider. I'll stay on this side. We'll kind of just like walk through there, try to see if we can see the whole little grove of aspens because it's not that big of a aspen grove. So we go. I'm walking down there. I look over and I see it's a really nice 5-point. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm shooting it. I look at Christian. I say, stop. I get it. I had an arrow knocked. I get ready. I pull back. I get settled, and I see the elk's head just turn and look at him. And I'm like, that's the direction of Christian. Oh no! And he bolts. They all take off, and I look over, and he's just walking down the trees, looking at the ground. And I'm like, gosh dang it, there's no way this is karma for me. Oh no. And I walk over and I'm like, hey, why don't you stop? And he's like, oh, I didn't think you were serious. I thought you were just messing with me. And I'm like, what? Why would I mess about that? I was serious, dude. And we get up there and take off. Oh my gosh, that was funny. You can't make those things up. It's always the best.
You can only be angry for so long before you just think about how stupid some situations are and just laugh at them. So.
Oh yeah. I wasn't that mad because it wasn't that big bull, so.
Yeah. Well, that's funny, man. That's a good story. It reminded me of a couple times in my life where I'm like, what'd you do that for to a hunting buddy? And it's just what are you going to do? Hopefully they learn from those mistakes. And if not, time to get a new hunting buddy. So.
I'll always take him. He's basically my brother. So I'll always go with him. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Lucas. Well, I know I only have you for so much time, and we're actually a little bit over that. Do you have any more stories you want to tell, or you want to wrap it up here?
I can explain why I wasn't happy with I'm happy now, realizing it's such a good unit, but I can explain the frustration with this bull if you want.
Up to you, man.
All right,
I don't know the story, so you tell me.
We'll do it. So, basically, I told you I saw that big bull, and we saw another big, heavy 7-point. But I actually had it 80 yards, but there's in cedar, and I could not see him because you can't see elk in cedars to save your life. Yeah. They're just hidden, and it's hard to find them. So, I had that one at 80 yards, and the satellite bull kind of tried to take his cow, so we took off back to him. But so we had two big bulls that I was like, I want to get either one of them. So we're sitting up. We weren't in that same little area where we saw that first big bull. We were down a ways from him. And we were sitting there and we were just glassing these barren sagebrush hills because the elk like to lay there in this area. And so we're going over there and I have a feeling, I'm like, you know what, let me just rip a bugle. So I just rip a bugle and I look over and there's a herd of elk right there. They were just laying down. They stood up and looked at us. And I'm like, oh, sweet, I found some elk. And I was like, yeah, they were there before you bugled. I'm like, oh well, I thought I did something cool. And so they were like 800 yards from us, and we're looking over, and we see my bull turn its head, and we're like, whoo, that might be 8 points. And my dad's like, I think that's an 8-point, at least on one side, because the one side of him he's really cool elk. But he just doesn't have the long points or the mass. But like if he had the longer points and mass, he would be a freaking stud. But so we're like, all right, we range. There's a road that goes in between these two little like big draws, and it just goes there. And they were like 400 yards because we range it. It was like 400 and range it 800. So we're like, well, it's gonna be within 400. So at the time, I'm shooting a 300 Remington short action ultra mag, so I can make a 400-yard shot. I put it on and shoot. And then brother has a 7 mag. My dad has a 300 Winchester short mag. And so us three, we get in the truck, we go down, we get there, and right as we get down to the spot where we see them, they stand up. And so we all jump out. My dad's like, I don't care who shoots it, somebody shoot it. And so I see it.
That's good. I'm like, that's good advice.
Oh yeah. And
just wait till it's right.
Yeah. Just get it in your sights and kill this bull. This is a big bull. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I get up. I see him. Boom. Whack. You just hear that bullet hitting meat, and he was smoked. And then, because the thing that I do when hunting is, that buck fever. I don't get it till after I shoot, and then I can't breathe. breathe. Like I am shaking. I can't. I shoot
Interesting.
him once. I nail him, and then I sailing bullets off into the dirt, basically.
Huh.
So he goes over. His herd comes down the hill, and I'm just shaking. I can't focus. I'm like, okay, I have to shoot him again. And I tried. I thought I had a couple. I thought I had a couple shots that I hit him, but I didn't. It was just that, oh yeah, I hit him. No, you didn't, type thing. But his herd goes down, runs off, and we're like, I don't see him in that herd. And so we're like, okay. So we go around. We kind of just make a road to him, but it wasn't really that far off. But we get over there. We walk down, and on the backside of the hill where I shot him, and it's just barren sage hill, and it's weird how easy these things blend into the sagebrush. Like it was laying down. I didn't see him. We get like 100 yards from it. It stands up and it starts running down this thing. And like when I said there were big ravines, you're sitting there at probably like a 65-degree angle to come up that hill like half a mile. It was horrible to take an elk up that. So I look at it. I'm like, Connor, he's my older brother. I'm like, shoot this thing. We got to get it down. I am not packing this thing up. I pull it up, shoot one. I think I shot another one in the shoulder, and I put one in its neck. And I think my brother put it a little farther back. But we get it down, it folds, and we're all yelling because this is the first elk we've killed in 10 years. So we're just, yeah. We get over there, and I grab him. I'm like, he's not the size that I thought he was. He's a great bull. I'm happy I got him, but he's not. My dad walks up, and he's like, I'm sorry, Lucas. That is not what we thought it was. I'm like, you know what? We killed an elk. This is the first time we've done it in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Time
stoked.
to eat.
Time to eat elk. I forgot what elk tastes like. But yeah, he's still a nice bull, though. Like, looking back, I'm very, very thankful I got him.
And he did have 8 points on one side?
No, he's 6 point.
Okay.
He just had this one side on him that I think it was the way he was sitting. Because you know when you get those elk, I don't know what you call it, but they got like that one part at the top of their, by the whale tail, and it just has a couple points just sticking up through them. I don't even know what you call that. Is that like the palm something?
Palmated or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's something like that. But what happened was the way his head was turned, you could see his 4, 5, 6 on the other side. They were just weaved in between, is what happened, I think. And we're just like, holy crap. So, but he's a nicer bull. But
a bull is a bull, man. It's not easy. I've been in too many years without killing one to have any like. Yeah. He's not a big bull conversation with you. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. It's a big deal.
It was just the area that we're in, and my dad is he will go 5 or 6 years without shooting something to make sure it's big. So I'm like, you know, if that's what my dad does, I'm going to do it too because I want to be like my dad type thing.
I get that.
I was just.
That's why I'm teaching my son to shoot anything because I suck at hunting.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll eat well the rest of his life just shooting at anything. So
honestly,
we'll see.
Game meat's better than any other thing, but it just populations in Wyoming right now are really dwindled because of wolves and our harsh winters. I think a couple years ago we had a winter that took out, I think 70% of our mule deer fawns, like the new ones. I think it just destroyed our populations. I think it took out 80 or 90% of the last year's fawns for the antelope. Like it just, you would drive.
I remember that. Yeah, I'm down here in Colorado, so just below you, and it was 2 years ago. Particularly the northwest corner of Colorado got just destroyed. But Wyoming, you guys got beat up, and you guys have tough winters to begin with. Let's talk about having a bad winter in Wyoming.
Tough, long, and dark.
Yep, and windy.
Oh, very windy. If you like wind, come to Wyoming. But please don't come to Wyoming. We have enough people. So our populations are just not. They're really low, and as hunters, as conservationists, I don't want to shoot just a deer because I want our population to be as all the things, and hunting. My papa would tell me about when he was little, you would see a 200-inch deer every other deer, and I'm like, I don't believe you. But I understand.
I don't know if we'll ever get back there, but I understand your point. Yeah, it's valid. You want to make sure that you're doing what you can to manage the herd.
Yeah.
You hope that Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the Wyoming Department of Fish and Wildlife, you hope that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And there's not too many issues that are getting voted on instead of actually determined by biological or biology-based science. But I don't think we'll ever be back to how it was 20 years ago,
But
unfortunately.
we can try. Is the best thing we can do.
Yeah.
First thing we can do is try to limit the population of wolves and grizzly bears, and that's a whole discussion if you want to go down there. But
Yeah,
we have them
so
bad here.
obviously that wolves were introduced into Colorado, and the funniest thing is people in Denver just getting all angry because hunters are sitting on the other side of the Wyoming border doing predator calls to try and get those wolves to come north.
They're brutal. And my dad had this guy that he'd go to Jackson every year to look at the elk because he likes elk. And he watched a pack of wolves, not all at once, but a couple elk at a time, just run them off a cliff. And I think they took out a whole herd of like 800 elk and left. Like they like hunting.
They kill for fun.
Yes, they do, and it's really sad because hunters, they don't have a voice enough to get that from not happening.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. And I mean, you're not old enough to vote, Lucas, but when you can, make sure you do. Almost, man.
Oh yeah, I listened to those the episodes where those guys were talking about like the stats of not voting, and my brother's one of those people who's like, I don't understand. Why should I vote? It doesn't matter. I'm like, Connor, you gotta vote, please. I don't want to lose.
Yeah, man, and that's a good point. We'll bring it up again. What they said in that episode, if you haven't listened to it, is it's not just about you voting, but find one person who didn't vote last time, and hopefully their values align with yours. But find someone, buy them lunch, take them to go vote, and make sure you get one additional person voting this year. And I think that'll solve a chunk of our problems, not all of them.
Oh yeah.
But we're off topic, Lucas. We're not here for that. That was a couple episodes ago.
Oh yeah.
Man, I want to say thank you.
Of course.
I know we're running out of time here, so we'll wrap this thing up.
All right, no
Do
worries.
you want to give anyone any social medias, or you just want to ride off into the Wyoming sunset?
They're beautiful here, by the way. But I have an Instagram. It's not really. I don't really post anything. The only thing I have on there was my state finals pictures from last year when I won. That's basically it.
Right, that's cool.
I got
congratulations on winning state, man.
Oh yeah, thank you. I got my second title last year. So, but like,
hell yeah.
My username's just Lil Ounce 5.4, and it's because that's what my friends nicknamed me, and I'm 5'4", so it's funny because I'm a little guy.
You're still growing. You're only 17.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you'll quite hit 6 foot, but we'll keep trying. We'll check in. We'll check in a couple years.
Oh yeah, I went to doctors and they said the tallest I should be is maybe 5'6", maybe 5'7". So I'll just get bulky. I'll get muscles. That's my thing. Is I'll just get bigger.
There you go, man.
Get bigger.
That's right. Do with what you got. So, Lucas, thank you again, man. I'll put a link to your Instagram in the show notes if anybody wants to check you out. But thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Those are some fun stories, and it's always cool to hear of like just really young guys that have a ton of hunting experience. So I'm hoping for my son. He's 5. So
you can get out hunting. Just try.
Yeah.
Even if you don't see something, just try.
Yep, I agree. Well, thank you again, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys. That's it. Another couple stories in the books. Again, I want to thank Lucas for being brave. I know at 17, I wouldn't have done anything like this, let alone do all the hunting adventures that he's had as well. I probably just would have sat at home and played video games or something like that. So, Lucas, thank you, man. I appreciate you for reaching out, and I appreciate you for coming on and telling the stories. Again, to you listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed Lucas's stories as much as I did. And if you are brave, reach out to me. I'd love to hear your stories as well. Beyond that, guys, make sure you follow us and subscribe on Instagram or whatever you're listening to this podcast right now, whether that be YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So the more people that do that and the more people that rate us, the more people will find us, the more great stories we'll hear. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Now get out there and make some stories of your own. Thank you.